kids these days and their fancy graphical operating systems. Back in my day, we actually typed in what we wanted to do with the bare friggin' metal. MS-DOS. It was the first PC operating system out there for the IBM PC compatible computers, and it followed one particular rule that a lot of early computers did at the time. You don't have individual icons and stuff to click on the screen. You had to actually type out the commands by hand. And the thing with that is, back then, the IBM PC was designed to be a business machine. It was designed to do productivity programs and not much else, and thus, the very first IBM PCs were shipped with a text-only graphics card. They also had a PC speaker that was intended for error messages and pretty much nothing else, and back then, the main operating system was called MS-DOS. And it soon became a no-brainer that if you worked with a PC at work, that you should also have one at home. And because it was a really powerful machine for the time, people decided to start making games for it, and the early games, they were simple by today's standards, and oftentimes ended up using this Hercules graphics mode, which was basically the standard text mode that the regular IBM PC shipped with, except it was made so you could address every single pixel, and that became monochrome display adapter or Hercules graphics. And I'm going to show you exactly what that kind of the second version of MS-DOS was like. It's the first to accept 360K disk images.
So here we go. We're actually starting MS-DOS 1.10, and this time it's actually working. Of course, it doesn't have a real-time clock, and this particular operating system is not Y2K compliant. Go figure, it was made in 1981. So here I try to put 2019 in, or no, I put in 1986, and it worked. But anything beyond year 2000 it won't understand. And here I put, that's my A drive because I only have floppy disks on this virtual machine. So what I do is I switch to a different disk image eventually. And here I use the dir command, which is for directory. And that was dir A. That let me look at the A drive. And here I failed to get basic.bas working because maybe the BIOS doesn't like it or something, I don't know. But it always locks up on this particular part. I mean, this is DOS 1.10, so I wouldn't expect compatibility with any virtualization. And of course, because no real-time clock, I keep having to repeatedly get this thing to work over and over and over and over again, and I think I tried it again. Yep, dir A. And here, I'd show the copy command and how to actually do that. So copy the file in the file you want to copy, and then you put the location you want to copy it to, which in this case is the B drive. And to switch to the B drive, you go B:, and then you can activate, you can run anything in B. And there we go. Now let's switch over to MS-DOS 6.22, which actually has more than 640K of RAM and has all these other things, because program too big to fit in memory. And here we have our basic MS-DOS 6.22 setup program. And here I think I'm reading it out a little bit, but you can probably see what it's doing. DOS 6.22 also installs to hard disks, so here we are, configure unallocated disk space recommended. And then we get a restart. And here's the MS-DOS setup process. I'm going to speed it up as fast as I can, and I'm going to edit this again so I can again make this as fast as possible.
Sir, had you better buckle up? Buckle this! Ludicrous speed! Go! What have I done? My brains are going into my feet! What the hell was that? Spaceball 1. They've gone to plaid!
And now we're on our MS-DOS install of 6.22, which is the more recent, in fact the most recent floppy disk version of MS-DOS. And this here is a fairly typical install screen for installing a program onto a computer back in the late 80s. I'll skip ahead to show you what I'm installing. And here we go. We're currently running VirtualBox, running MS-DOS, and here is me changing the directory to Paintbrush. Dear C, that's me looking at the directory. CD is changed directory. Pbrush, changed directory C, Pbrush. That changes what I'm acting on to Paintbrush. Of course, that was way too fast, so I had to use the pause break key in order to pause it so I could see the top of it. So we go Dear, I go Pbrush to run, or I try to, Pbrush, then I go to Pbrush Paint, and I run Microsoft Paintbrush. Switch to the Jolly Rancher Green, go to the text mode, and type in Lycan's Archeotech. And I have a very, very serious message.
Now, of course, if you've got something like Windows 3.1 or you've got Windows 95 or something like that, obviously it's not going to be as attractive to run that particular operating system, MS-DOS. But as you can see, if you are able to actually figure out how it works and how to copy files and how to work with disks and all that sort of stuff, you can actually get stuff working and it can be a pretty good experience. PC-DOS 1.0 is very, very bare bones, so it's kind of hard to work with, but DOS 6.22 is pretty much sky's the limit, and that's why I prefer DOS 6.22. In fact, I use it sometimes when I have to format drives so I can install other operating systems on computers, because it plays pretty well with pretty much everything. There's an MS-DOS 7.0 that works off CDs, but not everyone's going to want to work with CDs. And yes, essentially, that's MS-DOS in a nutshell. I'm sure you can find other stuff on YouTube on MS-DOS if you really want to, but that's all for today.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It would be a stylish marriage, I can't afford a carriage, but you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two.